Thanks so much for being here and joining me today for the third annual State of BioMed address. So, as many of you know, I started these presentations in 2022, shortly after I arrived at Brown, and it's really to share what was then just a vision for how we as a community wanted to see the division of biology and medicine grow. In the prior two addresses, I shared with you my sense that we are in an incredibly consequential moment, filled with opportunity that, if seized, could result in transformative change. And recognizing that moments are by definition fleeting, I noted that maintaining clarity regarding the opportunities, courage to embrace these opportunities, and conviction to invest ourselves fully in the opportunities would be critical in converting a moment into one that has enduring impact, one that would allow us to fulfill our mission to advance knowledge and improve the health and well-being of people and planet. Now, transforming a moment into enduring impact is really hard work, filled with challenge, filled with uncertainty. And certainly the past year has been challenging. Some were anticipated, others quite unexpected. That said, I am really proud to say that we as a community have maintained our focus, our resolve, to ensure that we continue to make real progress towards advancing our mission and ultimately impacting the health and well-being of Rhode Island and beyond. So today, what I'd like to do over the next 20, 25 minutes or so is to share with you some of the progress that we've made with our efforts aimed at developing our healthcare workforce, research and innovation, and clinical care. I'd also like to outline some future goals and challenges, and then open it up to questions both that we received in advance and that you may have as the audience attending today. I do want to just remind the audience that my goal today is not to provide a comprehensive catalog of achievements or even to enumerate individual accomplishments. To be honest, I'd love to do that. It'd be a lot of fun, but it would take several hours, tax this audience's patience, and impinge on what is probably the most important part of this event, which is the social gathering over food and libations that follows. So with that as a foundation of what we're going to discuss, how's that sound? Yeah. No objections? Okay. All right. Hearing none and applause, I'll continue. So I want to begin by reminding everyone that our biomed community constitutes one of the largest units within the university. Recall that we have three components to the division of biology and medicine. The program in biology, home to our basic science departments, where faculty are focused on undergraduate and grad teaching and research. The medical school, centered on medical students and master's training. And our affiliated healthcare systems, home to our faculty and trainees focused on clinical care, in addition to teaching and research. We're a community of over 2,000 trainees that span from undergraduate students to senior trainees on the verge of their first faculty positions. 2,600 faculty distributed across the three components of the division, more than 500 dedicated staff to support the enterprise, 19 departments, 13 centers and institutes, and our faculty collectively garner over $300 million in annual funding, approximately 2/3 of that federal. Our efforts are anchored across 4 pillars with a mission focused on education, research, clinical care, community engagement. And we believe in the foundation of belonging, equity, diversity, inclusion, and a commitment to the well-being of learners, faculty, and staff. This is our community. It is large, it is diverse, it is bound by a shared commitment to advance knowledge and improve the health and well-being of people and planet. A core commitment of the division is to train the next generation of doctors, scientists, educators. Because of this, excellence in pedagogy continues to be a cornerstone of our efforts. This year, the division's Office of Belonging, Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion, OBD for short, continued to oversee and enrich 13 pathway programs to introduce Rhode Island primary, high school, and college students, many from backgrounds underrepresented in medicine to careers in healthcare. What's really inspiring is that our medical students are actively engaged in these programs. They teach classes, serve on panels, act as health-related profession advisors. These experiences is still instilled in our medical students at a nascent stage in their medical careers, the importance of community engagement. In fact, OBD's Access program, entitled Road to Medicine, received a national award this year for their work with undergraduate students from Rhode Island colleges who are interested in applying to the medical school, which is critical if we are to ensure a healthcare workforce that approximates the communities we serve. At the medical school, we continue to advance curricular enhancements designed to better integrate basic science with clinical knowledge, provide more time for clinical exploration to ensure students that graduate from our school are well prepared for residency. With these enhancements, our students enter residency with a better understanding of the physician-patient relationship, ultimately empowering their decision-making abilities as lifelong learners, a critical skill to success in careers in medicine. As a division, we've also begun evidence-based and inclusive training for the range of undergraduate, master's, doctoral, medical programs to ensure we maintain the highest quality of offerings for our trainees. So what's next in training? A major initiative for the university is to augment high-quality master's programs. And within BioMed, we've been working to grow our very successful master's degree program in biotechnology. This is a dynamic and very popular two-year program that is distinctive amongst programs in New England in that it offers both research opportunities and co-op experiences with industry leaders. And I'm really excited to report that this fall, the program enrolled its largest cohort, and we envision significant growth over the next few years. Importantly, these trainees help our faculty in their research and innovation efforts, and after graduation, provide a capable workforce to help advance Rhode Island's goal of becoming a biotech hub. I'm also excited to share that we will be launching a new health informatics master's program in 2025. The program will address the growing demand for professionals with expertise in health informatics and AI, be it in the research, industry, or healthcare domains. And I really want to encourage all of you, and I invite ideas from the entire community, as we're very open to exploring other master's program opportunities. When I started at Brown, there was an intense focus on increasing research for impact. We made the case that investment in life sciences was critical if the university were to achieve its ambitious goals. For after all, within BioMed, there are already a number of established or emerging programs of scientific excellence that would help advance the university's goal. And at a more macro level, it was really important for Brown to be on the ascending limb of one of the great scientific revolutions in human history, the biorevolution that we're currently in the midst of, which, like the industrial and digital revolutions before it, holds great promise to impact so many sectors of life, from healthcare to agriculture, consumer goods, data storage, energy, just to name a few. And our mission not only aligns with this confluence of advances in biological sciences, but readies us for this. We developed an ambitious research vision to build an integrated and comprehensive biomedical ecosystem where innovations can move seamlessly from research and discovery to translated solutions that have direct, real-life impact for patients and communities. That is a very high aspiration, easier said than done, but we set our goals very high. And we did this because the benefits of realizing this goal would be manifold. Improve faculty experience and productivity, enhance recruitment retention of faculty and trainees, align research and clinical strengths to bring new treatments to patients in our community, attract the private sector to accelerate innovation, and serve as an engine for economic and workforce development for the region. This was the motivation behind a very carefully considered and coordinated set of steps that includes a new integrated life sciences facility, alignment of biomedical research through the Brown Innovation Research Collaborative for Health, or BIRCH for short, and reimagine partnerships with the health systems and the state to catalyze innovation. Many of you here today, and many others who were not able to attend but within our community, have dedicated enormous time and energy in developing each one of these initiatives. And for their work, I simply want to express deep gratitude, because thanks to their efforts, we have and continue to make good progress. I'll start with the significant activity across Richmond Street that you no doubt noted on your way in. The planned William A. and Amy Kuan Danoff Life Sciences Laboratories, a state-of-the-art facility for integrated life sciences research. Danoff Laboratories will be home to 4 major research programs: cancer, brain science, infection immunity, and aging, with cross-cutting areas such as RNA technology, biomedical engineering, and AI embedded throughout the work. The first floor will provide space for patient-based research. For example, patient interviews, blood sample collection, an element that's frankly uncommon in laboratory buildings, but reflective of our focus on developing solutions to real-world patient challenges. And architecturally, the building design will offer continued community engagement through its educational spaces. I thought I might do a deep dive into one of the scientific programs that I think illustrates the full promise of the vision, and one that I would envision will serve as a foundational pillar for the biorevolution more broadly. As many of you know, we have invested considerable time and resource into developing an exciting program focused on RNA science and medicine. Now, a little background, a little science lesson. Recall that RNA, along with its very famous sibling DNA, governs the code of life. RNA is critical in health. Its malfunction important in disease, and it holds enormous potential for a new wave of diagnostics and therapeutics to combat disease. Outside of healthcare, RNA also holds promise for crop security, food production, data storage, even pet medicines, to name a few. Some, and I have to say this a little carefully and softly, but some have even suggested that RNA's potential will go on to exceed the impact of DNA. Okay? You have to be careful where you say that. In October of last year, we established the Brown RNA Center. Our team members have been at the forefront of the national movement to undertake the Human RNome Project, sequel to the Human Genome Project, but focused on sequencing RNA. From a landmark call to action, landmark publication that catalyzed the National Academies of Science, Engineering, and Medicine report on the topic, to hosting the inaugural Human RNome meeting, to holding a congressional briefing on this topic, our community has helped advance efforts centered on harvesting the full promise of RNA. And we continue to work closely with university leadership, Rhode Island Senator Jack Reed, and many, many colleagues across the state and nation to make Rhode Island a hub for RNA research and technology development. I'm going to switch gears now and share with you a high-level overview of our research portfolio. Over the past year, the collective research efforts of our faculty has led to strong growth in funding. You can see that for the past decade and a striking increase of 15% just over the past 12 months. I know this level of growth is not easy, and I will simply want to thank our faculty, students, staff, whose creativity and dedication has made this possible. I also want to give a special shout out to those who are seeking large collaborative grants, like the one awarded to the Pediatric Anxiety Research Center, that will test the impact of cognitive behavioral therapy for pediatric anxiety in the community setting. This is exactly the kind of large team-based effort that we need to really advance the boundaries of knowledge and establish ourselves as a research powerhouse. So what's on the horizon for research and innovation? Obviously, I'd love to see more large collaborative grants within our community, along with training grants. I know efforts are underway in Alzheimer's, cancer, and aging. And we're gearing up for renewal of BioMed's largest grant, Advanced CTR. And I'm optimistic that we'll be successful if we fully leverage our community's promising science, collaborative spirit, and culture of innovation. I also anticipate important developments from the efforts of the Rhode Island Life Sciences Hub. Recall, this entity was established in 2023 to facilitate the growth of the state's life sciences sector through a number of approaches, such as establishing incubator space, providing funds to support innovation, and funds for workforce development. President Paxton and I have the privilege of representing Brown on the board of the Hub, and the Hub leadership has been working incredibly hard and diligently, and they have made favorable progress towards a very long-sought aspiration for this community, establishing lab incubator space. And I think you'll hear more about that in the weeks to come. In BioMed, we're very focused on working with our partners in ways that not only enhance the medical education we provide, but also broader benefits to the quality of care available to people in Rhode Island. I'd like to begin with an effort that we should all be incredibly proud of, and it's related to the partnership with the Warren Alpert Foundation to establish Smart Plus clinics in Central Falls, a program that provides healthcare and behavioral services to primary and secondary school children while exposing them to careers in medicine. Now, as a reminder, what's distinct about the Smart Plus clinics is that the embedded pathway programs with the goal to encourage and inspire young students to seek careers in healthcare. Two programs, Calcutt Middle School and Veterans Memorial Elementary, are already up and running. In just 1 year, providers have generated over 7,500 clinical encounters. And with access to medical care embedded in the school, Calcutt has seen a striking 30% decrease in absenteeism. And the newest Smart Plus clinic, Veterans, has already seen a 10% decrease. Another way we're impacting healthcare is by providing access to the medical school's anatomy lab and or clinical observation suite for physician assistant schools at Bryant and Johnson and Wales University, so that all health field trainees have similar high quality resources available to them during their training. And of course, we continue to work closely with our three academic health system partners, the Providence VA Medical Center, Care New England, and Lifespan, to enhance clinical care holistically for the Rhode Island community. And I'll just note for you a few exciting recent efforts. So recently, we've been working closely with colleagues at Care New England to establish the complex family planning section within the Department of OBGYN, providing critical training for medical students, especially those from states with restrictions. We're also partnering with both Care New England and Lifespan and our leaders in the Department of Psychiatry and Human Behavior to develop a collaborative and distinct strategy in critical areas such as interventional psychiatry and neurodevelopmental disabilities. And lastly, we consummated recently an enhanced affiliation agreement with our largest clinical partner, Lifespan, announced a few months ago. As part of that agreement, Lifespan will adopt the name Brown University Health. We anticipate this reimagined partnership will enhance collaborations across all aspects of the mission, help attract and retain world-class physicians and scientists, and enhance the impact of research and innovation. These partnerships are critically important to ensuring that we are able to offer our students the best training experiences for careers in medicine and science. We have much work ahead with our clinical partners as they continue to face headwinds, both nationally and within the state, around issues like reimbursement, shortage of primary care providers, and competition from disruptive forces such as private equity. But what I can say is that we are fortunate, incredibly fortunate, to have experienced and kind leaders at the helm of all three health systems, and we are working in closer alignment than ever before, guided by what I think is good for our community, a shared North Star. I'm going to talk a little bit about challenges. And undoubtedly, as you move forward, our resolve will be tested by ongoing challenges, both expected and unexpected. In their messages to the community at the opening of the academic year, both President Paxson and Provost Doyle mentioned the need to focus on Brown's financial health and economic sustainability. Brown, and certainly BioMed, have experienced exponential growth over the last decade, fueled by high investment returns, successful fundraising, and access to credit in a low inflation environment. The growth has been at a pace that exceeds most peer institutions, and that has created some financial pressure for the university. Over the course of the year, we'll be hearing more about plans to bring the university budget into balance by bending the curve on expenses so that we can still continue to grow, albeit at a more moderate pace. Another challenge stems from the internal and external events that frankly challenge our convictions. The ongoing conflicts in many parts of the world, particularly the Middle East, and a contentious presidential election. These are just but two challenges that we can anticipate. During such times, we look to our shared mission and principles to guide us. Ours is a community in which we value and respect our differences, and we seek to advance knowledge and understanding with a spirit of free inquiry. We are committed to upholding freedom of expression, respecting the dignity and humanity of others, behaving with integrity. All of us must ensure that these standards of respect, integrity, tolerance are maintained inside and outside the classroom, laboratory, and hospital. I'd like to close with some reflections of what has transpired over the 2.5 years since I assumed this role. During this period, I have spoken often, including at the outset of my remarks today, about the importance of clarity, courage, conviction, and seizing opportunity for impact. As I look back, I feel very comfortable to say that we as a community have collectively demonstrated the requisite clarity and courage to identify and embrace opportunity. I must acknowledge, however, that the rapidity, complexity, the deeply consequential nature of many initiatives that we have embraced almost simultaneously exceeds what I could have imagined when I stood before you 2 years ago at the inaugural State of BioMed. Perhaps I shouldn't be surprised, for it's often said that opportunities multiply as they are seized. But inherent to rapid change is a degree of uncertainty that can leave us feeling unsettled. This point was underscored to me in a recent conversation that I had with several faculty, where they shared both excitement at our trajectory, but also a feeling of apprehension resulting from rapid change. And no doubt these feelings are amplified by the national and global political and social unrest. I am really grateful to for their comments. Really important. And I want to pause and acknowledge these feelings. And perhaps that's something that I should have done earlier and more often. But as I look ahead, I will note that our willingness to trust, support, collaborate with each other is more important now than it has ever been. For we are entering the conviction phase of our journey, and this is the hardest phase of all. It will require a high level of tenacity, perseverance, and resilience, all which I am confident that we as a community embody. You know, Churchill once said, "The pessimist sees difficulty in every opportunity. The optimist sees opportunity in every difficulty." What I do know, given the talent that exists in this room and this community, what I know is that if we remain optimistic, if we remain steadfast and resolute, if we remain supportive and kind to each other, we can bring the many efforts being advanced simultaneously to fruition. And in doing so, we will successfully achieve what we wanted to, what I spoke to you about 2 years ago, change the trajectory of science, medicine, and healthcare for this region and beyond. Thank you for being here today. Thank you for all that you do to support the division and all that you do to advance knowledge and the well-being of people and planet. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Now, I'm going to switch gears. This for the Q&A. We had a number of questions that were sent in advance. I'm going to try to go through those. And then the audience will have microphones for the audience to ask questions as well. Just give me a sec. All right. We had a lot of questions. What I've tried to do is, particularly when there were multiple questions of a related nature, really focus on those. So let me start, and this is really in no specific order. But I'm going to start. There was several questions around the Smart Plus clinics that I referenced. and whether there are plans to expand beyond Central Falls. And what I would say at this time, we've been incredibly fortunate to have the support of the Warren Albert Foundation to get these programs going, and they are magnificent, as I shared with you. And I think what we need to do is really focus on the ones we've started, make sure that they are very successful. We'd love to expand, and as I look in the background, I see Dr. Diaz in the background, and who's been a major driver for the Smart Clinic program. He'd love to see expansion, but that will require funding. And so we'll be working hard on that, but in the meantime, make sure that the programs that we've initiated are successful. A second area was, it says, I hear a rumor about a clinician scholar promotion track. Is that moving forward? So the answer is, the rumor is correct. It's not a myth. The proposal for an additional academic track, the clinician scholar track, which really recognizes expertise in innovation, leadership, research scholarship for clinicians, and will complement the research scholar and teaching scholar tracks, was presented by Dr. Shelley Sear to the APC last spring. It was approved, but it needs to go to a full faculty vote on October 1. If you're a voting member, I'm not telling you what to do, but if you're a voting member of the faculty, you might consider attending the October 1 faculty meeting and casting a vote. I'm hopeful it'll be approved. I anticipate that, but it's important to get out the vote. All right. There were multiple questions, and I'm going to reach out to Kim, and I don't know if Michelle is here as well. I'm allowed, by the way, to have, what was that show we used? Lifelines. Yeah, whatever that show was. Question about staff compensation. And would it be possible to make research staff pay more competitive? Kim? Oh, you want to hand the mic to Michelle? No. Yeah. Oh,
Yes. Michelle? The first thing I would just say about any staff compensation question is please make sure you're working with BioMed HR to make sure those job descriptions really reflect the hard work that people are doing. That's really where it starts. And if we can get that job description as tight as possible, then our BioMed colleagues have a much smoother time moving that through compensation. And then Michelle can share with you the work that's happening within University Human Resources to look more holistically at compensation.
Thank you, Kim. Yes, so university compensation, at the behest of the university leadership, recognize that we've got some work to do here. And they have engaged with Mercer Corporation, which is a consultancy very well known for their work in this field. It's called the Staff Compensation and Career Pathways Initiative. This is a 2-year project. It is ongoing. It has begun, and they've done some great work. It will continue through the end of 2025, early 2026. The idea here is not only making sure that all of our jobs are compared to market-based compensation so that we are offering the best compensation possible that is aligned with comp in this area, and also making sure that we are creating career pathways. We recognize that there are some job families where they only go so far, and there's really nowhere else for that person to grow, at least linearly in that particular job family. Work is being done on all of that, and as Kim said, please, if you have particular issues right now, the best thing to do is let's get these job descriptions, let's have a conversation with university HR, with BioMed HR, and we'll do the best we can to make sure that compensation is aligned.
All right, thanks, Michelle. A number of questions around primary care shortage. So I'll begin and then invite Dean Hampton if she'd like to comment on it as well. But the question essentially is that we have a primary care shortage. This is obviously a topic of great discussion, and how can we address this? And I would say there's, I'll share with you three ideas and then turn it over to Star if she'd like to embellish. So I would begin by saying that we really need to think about the life of our primary care physicians. So these are people that are incredibly dedicated. They went into it because they want to have that partnership with patients, and a lot are leaving. They're burnt out. They leave their practices, and we have to change the fundamentals of their job. I've learned a lot through conversations with many of you. I would really give a shout out to Dr. Richardson, our chair of family medicine. And what Caroline really described to me is that you need to understand that the day to day life, those, if you will, death by 1,000 cuts, is really a huge part of the challenge. Could reduction in administrative burden, could AI scribes, EMR help all of that? Absolutely. And so those are areas for investment. I'll also refer you, there was a recent article in the Providence Journal by one of our alums, Ewell Edgeness, who outlined really beautifully the challenges in the day-to-day life of a primary care physician. And if you want to email us, we can send you that article. So that's one, changing the fundamentals of the job. The second is changing reimbursement rates. This has been a long time issue. It affects primary care. It affects all our specialties. It affects the economic vibrancy of our health systems. And the third is to broaden loan forgiveness programs. A lot of states have done this. We have existing programs. I think they max out around 50K, but other states offer 3, 4x that. And I think most people know that the average medical student debt is north of 250K. Ours is, I'd love it to be lower, but it's about 170K, significantly better than national statistics, but not as low as we'd like. So, one, changing the fundamentals of the job. Number two, reimbursement rates. Number three, loan forgiveness programs. And I want to make sure if Star would like to add to that, if we could get her a microphone.
As usual, I wouldn't have much to add to Dean Jain, but additionally, we are thinking about what we can do at the medical school level to increase interest and retention of our students into the primary care fields. And so we have an excellent program, the Primary Care Population Medicine Program, which is focused, and we are refocusing that program on primary care leaders. That's a program that is a dual degree program with a master's as well as an MD, focused on students who really are thinking that they're going to enter primary care fields at the beginning and at the entry of medical school. But I think there is more that we can do to really, we know that improved early exposure and early experiences in primary care can increase interest in primary care as a career. So thinking about how we can do that for our students. Of course, the life as a primary care that Mukesh alluded to is, if we improve that, that would be helpful because our students see modeling from the primary care physicians that they work with. And so improving the life of the primary care physician would be very helpful for our students to see a life model that they want to enter into. But also having preceptors that, are not burnt out and can have students in their offices and really show a trajectory for that student that they can see themselves in as they move forward in their training.
Yep. Thanks, Star. Maybe I'll do one more that came in before, and then we'll open it up if the audience has questions. So this is one that left me extremely perplexed. It's a question, it's only 6 words. I'm going to tell you what the question is in a second, but bear with me. So, a really short question. I read it again and again. I read it forward. I read it backwards. I read it upside down. I read it, flipping the page over. I couldn't get it. Was there some like hidden question there? Ruminated on it. Multiple insomnia-filled nights. And I concluded, like, could this be the work of some diabolical genius mind? Because I couldn't figure out what it was. So what do you do when you're exasperated? I sought the counsel of someone that's much smarter than me, my significantly better half who's here. And in about a millisecond time frame, she concluded and said, you know what? Don't read too much into it. It's just someone being nice. And it's a genuine question. So what was the question? It was, how are you doing these days? Like, what's up with that? So whoever was kind enough to send, I'm sorry that I read too much into it. I have two responses. One is, I'm fine unless the president or the provost tell you otherwise. And in more seriousness, I am fine. We have a great team, we have a great community, and we're doing collectively a lot to make a difference. And I know my colleagues in leadership have heard me say this many, many times, but it really is a privilege. It's not a right. It's a privilege to be afforded the opportunity to have impact. And that's what so many of us in leadership have an opportunity to do. And we should feel very blessed to have those opportunities. So thank you for that kind question. And with that, we have microphones. If there are additional questions for the audience, happy to entertain them. Just remember, the party's outside. But if you have a question, you're more than happy, you should feel totally free to ask. No, all kidding aside, we have time. It is a quiet group.
I can just toss the mic to someone and
Someone,
see who grabs
yeah.
it, and then they have to ask the first question.
Sure. Going one. Oh dear. Okay, no.
Mr. Stein.
We're done for the day. We're fine. No.
You inspired me with the last question. This is not a question. I want to thank you,
Oh.
Brown, the medical school, but especially you, having been in the community for a long time, for bringing Brown more into the community and bringing them in academically, bringing them in with the SMART programs, bringing them in with your vision for life science and biotech going forward. But you and your colleagues at the hospitals give us hope, which we have not had all the time. For those of you who have been around that went through merger talks and all, most of them were because this guy didn't like that guy.
Yeah.
That's what a lot of them were in these different places. And
Yeah.
I want to thank you for your leadership.
Well, thanks very much. Okay. Yeah. And I'll just point out, I just want to acknowledge Dr. Wagner in the background, who's been a great partner. There he is, and obviously you work a lot with him.
Along the same line, I got an opportunity to go and visit that clinic at that school, part of something which I was doing. Then I saw the clinic. It's written beautifully, Brown Division of Biology and Medicine sponsored clinic. Really remarkable. The school teachers, the nurse, and everyone was extremely appreciative of the work which is initiated by you and done by you. So thank you again.
Oh, thanks,
It's beautiful.
Manny. Yeah. You guys are nice. Last year was a lot harder. Yeah, Okay, here we go. Now we're ramping it up. All right, people are getting warmed up. Dr. Eldieri.
I've seen news reports of a medical school that people are talking about somewhere. In Rhode Island, do you have any comments?
Yeah. So look, great question. I'm sure most people know, but just in case you haven't had a chance, there's a consideration for a second medical school, a state school based at URI, and it really is an outgrowth of the concern around primary care. And so a committee has been formed. It's composed of a large group of very thoughtful leaders. They're going to be working hard, and they're going to be rendering some insights by January of 2026. So I think we just wait for that report. And I think it'll be a lot of work, but it'll be very informative. I'm not, or most of our leadership is not part of the committee. And so what we're really focused on, and this is what that response, Wafik, to the primary care shortage question was, what we're talking about and what can we do now? Improving the life of the physician, the reimbursement rates, the loan forgiveness program. These are closer, closer at hand, and we'll wait for the output from the committee.
Hi, Anita Zimmerman. I just wanted to comment on that issue. I don't understand how, turning out more primary care physicians is going to solve our problem, because they're just going to leave because of all those reasons that you said.
Yeah.
That the reimbursement rate, the lifestyle, all of that. The only thing I can think of that might help is if there are more of them, maybe they won't have to see as many patients, and that might help their, their lifestyle. But first you have to make the conditions right to make them stay.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't see how a second medical school is going to help that.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Anita. Oh, Neil.
So I think it's been very exciting to watch and be in some small part of the story of the medical school, the division also growing its external funding. But one of the major external headwinds that we're going to be up against is the federal budget.
Yeah.
And NIH as a whole, and particular ICs that many of us depend on, watching the numbers just go down. What's a plan for bridge funding or other things that we to be prepared for the worst? Do you
Yeah.
have anything?
Yeah. Thanks, Neil. It's very hard to know exactly where the NIH is going to land, right? There's consolidation of institutes, and there is there's a lot of concern about the restructuring of NIH from both sides of the aisle, for that matter. And so I think a change will happen, and I don't know where we'll land. With respect to issues of bridge funding, these are things that are of great concern to our faculty. We're working through that. You have someone sitting to your left, so the microphone is perfectly positioned. And I'd love to have Dr. Ramratnam. He and I have been just talking about this. We were talking with Dr. Wagner about this recently, as well as John Fernandez. But through we meet often around the BIRCH initiative, and a very important question. And maybe Bharat, if you'd like to share a few thoughts.
Sure. It's a central issue that we actually have a committee of faculty looking in with us, because it can't be an administrative answer. It has to also answer what the faculty needs are. When you get into bridge funding, it's fairly complex in the sense that what are you funding, for how long are you funding, what are the milestones, what's the earmark, and all of that requires also funding. So you could expect something probably by FY25 later on in terms of preliminary plans, but it is central in our horizon as that we need a program.
I don't see any more hands. All right. Well, I think it's time for refreshments. I want to thank everyone for joining today, everyone on watching online. Thank you for joining us today, and have a great day, everyone, and thank you for all that you do.